Hello and welcome. Janet Beckers here with your wonderful web TV tip of the week. My question for you this week is, what are you willing to do to make things succeed? I'll talk to you about that on the inside and we'll see what it looks like. Hey, so how hungry are you? How determined are you to make a success of your business? Are you willing to just really put in some hard yards, make some sacrifices, some short-term pain for some long-term gain? Are you willing to do it, and what does it look like? Now, I'm just going to give you some pretty hard facts here, and this comes from having been in business for years, from having worked with a lot of people as their mentor, and then previous to that, having worked for years as a lecturer at university. I find that the majority of people think that they are doing what it takes, but really the amount of effort and focus and absolute commitment that they are putting in is only a fraction of what is needed. Now, I'm not talking here about you having to work harder and harder and harder. I'm talking about you being determined, being focused, and doing what needs to be done, and not stuffing around with other things that are unimportant. Now, an example back from when I was lecturing is there were people who would fail. That's life. There will always be people who are going to fail for whatever reasons. Then you had the whole spectrum of people who go up to a high distinction. It was the people who were in the middle that were working hard and doing things and thought, you know what, I've worked really, really hard at this. Why didn't I get a high distinction? I only got a pass or a credit. As the person on the other side who was the lecturer, I could see very, very clearly the difference between a pass or a credit and high distinction. The people who were getting the high distinctions were the ones who were so absolutely focused on what they were going to do. They worked out what needed to be done. They worked out their systems. They had a structure. They followed it step by step. They did not slack off and go, oh, look, I think I've done enough, or this is good enough. They absolutely set themselves a high bar, and they did what was important, and they removed anything else from their life that was distracting and that was not going to make it work. It wasn't to do with working hard. Though, mind you, sometimes the people who'd got a credit were saying, I worked all weekend on this. And I go, well, big deal. The people who got a high distinction have worked consistently all semester working hard on this. That's what makes the difference. So that was what was obvious when I was working as a lecturer. And when it comes to working with people in business, I will find that people are going, absolutely, I can do the hard work. But when it comes to the actual day-to-day and making a tough decision about, am I willing to do that? Other things become a priority. As an example, when I was putting together my book, Romance Your Tribe Online, I had a stack of interviews to do. I did 13 interviews with people who were at all different time zones, and then I was using those for my book and for my teleseminar, for my telesummits, and for the podcast. Now, to get all of these interviews done in the time frame that I wanted to do meant that I had to fit in with the time zones of these people who I wanted to interview, because they were busy, busy people. So, was I willing to get up at 4:30 in the morning so that I could interview somebody at that time? Now, interviewing them at 4:30. So I'd have to get up at 4 to have enough cups of coffee in me to be able to be focused. Was I willing to do that? Hell yeah. Didn't even think twice about it. Of course I'm going to do that, because that's going to get me to my objective. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't get to play, because at 7 o'clock I was out with a girlfriend running, enjoying the bush and having coffee. But I was determined to do whatever it was going to take place. Now, are you determined? Are you willing to do what it's going to take? Are you willing to go no to things that are not going to move you towards your objective? Are you willing to put in that hard work? Because if you're not, you're just playing at it, okay? You're not going to get where you want to go if you're not willing to actually put in that focus and that effort. So that's my tough love call to you today. So ask yourself this hard question. You know, am I willing to do what it's going to take? Am I going to be satisfied with a pass mark, or am I going for the high distinction? Am I going to make this a success, or am I going to waste all of the energy that I've put into this so far because I could not be bothered moving out of my comfort zone and putting in what needed to do? I'd love to hear this from you. What's your take on this? I'm sure you might totally disagree with me, and that is really, really cool. Just tell me down below. Really want to hear when you ask yourself that tough question. What does it look like? See ya.